Welcome. This is David Boles, Human Meme. Today's topic, imitation is not flattery. Is imitation the most sincere form of flattery? Well, that's how the saying goes. But flattery is a pleasing form of self-deception and the art of pleasing by artful commendation. So flattery is not a great thing. Nobody aspires to be flattered except for the imitators. As a close listener of this Human Meme podcast, you know I am about real things, and I celebrate authentic moments that mean something beyond the speck of the word and the exercising of the spoken freedom. The experience of our world is filled with fakery and pretenders and imitations of real things that actually matter. And our acceptance of the real on the cheap, in the imitation, in the imitator, is a problem for society and the veracity and verisimilitude of a culture. Are we made of real things, or are we all too similarly fake? Do we have original thoughts, or are we part of the groupthink psyche? What are the origins of imitation? It always appears to be financial. Imitation, generic, is always cheaper than the first, the original, the memorable. And in the cost of goods and services, almost is pretty much good enough for many people. Even when buying the right, real thing isn't that much more expensive. For those people, the deal is in the imitation. The thrill for them is in buying the almost something. Their satisfaction, I guess, is that they put one over on the original, that they could never afford or abide in the first place. It all roils down to this: imitation versus authenticity versus origination. And the decision of which one you'll choose is important. Now, copying has always been big business, because it also has to do with copyright and the law. The Xerox company was in big trouble early on in their copy machine career because they made it easy for someone lazy to reprint an entire book or article right in the office. A Xerox copy was, and still is, always a pale imitation of an original. But still, the imitation is more valuable to the copier than buying and paying full price for an original. Digital copies, video, music, television, movies, are even more dangerous to copyright because the creation process becomes harder and harder to discern the differences in these DNA-level twin copies of an original work. That's why, in some form, a copy of something is always digitally, purposefully flawed in some way, with a mistake, or DRM, or some other form of financial difference. But what about the realest of the real things? We, the human people. Our world is filled with imitators seeking the power and the prestige of the original. For example, in performance, the imitator and the original. Susan Tedeschi versus Bonnie Raitt. Vicki Lawrence versus Carol Burnett. Lady Gaga versus Elton John. Brad Pitt versus Robert Redford. The original is always better than the pretender. And there's no getting around that truth, even as the original ages and decays and fades away, becomes less talented, and dies. The imitator can never advance to the superior level of the originating mind and talent. We are left with the memory of the original and contempt for the pretender. And does anyone think instant coffee is really better than brewed coffee? It's all in the process of convenience, because the creation endpoints matter. And rehydrating the original is not the same as deconstructing the original. There's a reason Chicago is called the second city, because New York City is number one. Now, Chicago did the right thing, and they took their second-rate status seriously without trying to be New York, New York, New York, so good they named it thrice. Or New York City, Part 2. Chicago, second city. Windy City. The little town blues in the Midwest that is not New York, New York. Imitation is stealing the soul of something in a bad way and an irreparable way. We have laws against direct copying, but not against the pale comparison. There are barricades against imitation, and that arrives in the all of a person who cannot be replicated or imitated. Here's a short list of absolute originals. They are uncopyable, and because they are so great, they are known throughout history by only one name: Einstein, Nureyev, Elvis, Picasso, Sinatra, Edison, Twain, Roosevelt, Nixon, Freud, Pasteur, Curie, Barton, Washington. That list is one of original firsts. All of them cannot be replicated, and people have tried. They are special in mind and body and voice of being. Everything. We cannot separate one part of them and consider it a whole. They are all so far ahead of us, still, even from the grave, that we can't ever know enough about them to catch up, to imitate. The only one in their league, the League of Originals, who is currently living, is Obama. You know he's a living original, and if we are lucky enough, he will be setting a shining example of what it means to be a real and authentic human being for another half-century. Now always remember this: you are original. You are genius. If you don't believe me, then you haven't done enough self-spelunking within you yet, And you need to go back and listen to all of the episodes in this Human Meme podcast. The indelible of you is in there in you, waiting for confirmation, recognition, and realization from you. It's all right there, existing, no matter if you find it or not, but the self-realization of that blinding brilliance inside you is precisely how the core of you was formed, and it will carry you well into the future and burn away all the competition and all the imitators, beating them back into the dark, for they cannot abide your fire and light alone. Thank you for listening. Be a human meme.